Okay, it worked. Hey everyone, I am live from Amtrak in the middle of the country. Thank you so much for joining me on this exciting cross country train trip. Um, and to refresh everyone, let me know in the comments if you can see me and hear me. Um, but to refresh everyone's um, memory, if you don't follow me religiously, which you don't have to, um, the reason I decided to take a train across the country from Portland, Oregon to, I'm not going to name my destination except to say it's on the East Coast because Brian likes me to not name um, my actual destination until after I've gotten there for security reasons. But I'm heading all the way to the East Coast. I'm in the middle of the country now. I'm in Wisconsin. We just left Minnesota. I'm going to show you what's out the window in a minute and what you see here all around me. And I don't want to invade anyone's privacy, so I'll try to do it without showing people who are sitting around me. But this is the observation deck. And so it's all glassed in. Here you can sort of see a glimpse. You can look up, you can look down, you can look all around. It's snowing. Um, it's deep snow out there. Oh, good, you can see me, you can hear me, that's wonderful. And the reason I decided to take a 3.5 day train, which you can probably tell from my scruffiness that I've been on a train for 2.5 full days, is that the drones. Honestly, it's the drones. I was checking with, and do let me know if you can all hear me okay, but I was checking with United, which was the airline that I was supposed to fly back on from Portland to LaGuardia, and I confirmed with customer service that I said, has there been any drone activity interfering with flights? And customer service very sweetly was very honest. And good. People are saying you can hear me clear. Customer service was very honest. Sorry for the background noise. And customer service said yes, there has been drone issues with two inbound flights to LaGuardia, and that was 2 days ago. So that was on Friday. I'm sorry, that's not right. Today is Thursday, so that was Monday. And he said twice the words or the phrase, it's been a problem. It's been a problem. So when customer service says twice that something is quote unquote a problem, it's time for me to find other travel modes. You could totally think that I'm overreacting. And I'm sure many of you might think that is insane. This woman's overreacting. Just get on a plane. But I've survived this long in many areas, including disaster zones and conflict areas, by just avoiding the unknown. In other words, if you know there's going to be bad weather, you know there's, terrorists targeting an area, or you know that there's flooding, you can calculate your risk. Not perfectly, but you can calculate your risk reasonably. But when there's something unknown, like we don't even know what they are, maybe the government knows what they are, maybe they're a technology we don't understand. Maybe the dimensions between the universes are thinning. Who knows, right? Anything is possible these days. But when there's something that's an X factor, we don't know what the drones are, we don't know what they want, we don't know who's operating them. I'm literally not, that's the red flag for me. I'm not going to go be part of the experiment of, commercial flight activity versus drone activity. So you guys can if you're comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it. And so I took the train. And the other thing I want to share is I've been posting a little bit about my train trip, just pictures and observations on X. And it's so nice to hear the overhead. It's so nice to see that many of you have the same incredibly passionate feelings about train travel that I do. I absolutely love trains, and trains in this beautiful country of ours are absolutely the best, unmatched experience. I've actually crossed the continent 3 times in trains with my kids when they were growing up, and it was some of the best family vacations you could have. I think it would be a little harder now with devices, but they can't go anywhere. They're stuck, you know. Pardon me. You have to have family time when you're on a train, and you also get to have the joy of seeing the passing countryside through the eyes of your kids. So I'm not going to invade their privacy. I'll just do a quick glance around, but you can sort of get the impression that there are families here playing cards with their kids, playing games with their kids, and when in real life you get to immobilize your children so that they have to look at you and talk to you and play cards with you like never. So it's the best. So I've seen some really beautiful things. I'm just going to show you the view out the window, and then I'll come back and narrate. So it's pretty much woods and snow right now. But the most spectacular parts of the journey, and I'm on something called the Empire Builder, which is probably a name for uh, a line of a train that wouldn't be allowed anymore because we're not allowed to build empires. But it's one of the great routes across the United States, and it goes through. Let's see. I originated on a bus in Eugene, Oregon. Beautiful, Willamette Valley. First part of the trip, green, wet, foggy, overcast. And then we went to Portland, gorgeous 19th century red brick train station in Portland. I mean, some of the great architectural wonders of this country are the train stations, and thank God for the ones that haven't been destroyed. And just admire that scenery behind me while we're chatting. And then the first day, and I posted some of these clips, I woke up, and yes, I will grant you, the first night, I don't have a sleeper car. There's a reason I don't have a sleeper car. I thought the sleeper cars were a little gross, for reasons we don't have to go into. You sleep really well, but there are other things that are a little gross about them. But I decided to just hobo it and just sleep in my seat. But don't tell anyone on the train, because I don't want to be accosted or attacked or whatever on the train. But there was a snorer in our car the first night, and that was bad. It was bad. I will tell you, it was bad. It's bad enough of snoring. It's bad enough. I mean, it's to spend the rest keeps you up snoring, but when a total stranger keeps you from falling asleep and keeps a whole trainload of people from falling asleep, it's like you just imagine the worst horrible images in your head of doing damage to people to keep them from snoring. But I survived that. He got off the train, thank God. So last night was wonderful. It's just so restful to have there are 2 toy stores. I see the connections getting a little choppy, in which there were no toys for girls. And my mission was to make sure there were good toys for girls. So who knows? But forgive me for the choppiness. I'm going to move a little bit closer to the hotspot. But look at the beauty of this country. And so right now it's just like flat, mostly flat, slightly hilly from time to time. The one powers that have identified this very benign podcast, but it could be just the audio, and people are suggesting noise canceling headphones. Very good idea. I apologize, I won't do that. So let me know if I should keep trying. Otherwise, we'll wrap up this podcast this episode in just a few minutes. At 10 minutes, let me know if you can see or hear me, if you want me to keep talking. And if not, I will. There's better signal. Uh, Noise canceling folks with podcasts, I should know that you would really need. But I was just going to say, if you can hear me, up in the park, Montana, and let me know if you can hear me. Better, great. I, you're just going to have choppy video from time to time until we get closer to a city. But Glacier National Forest, I cannot praise it highly enough. Literally, one of the journeys I've ever majestic mountains, deep ravines, racing icy rivers. Oh, noise canceling headphones for sleeping. Good idea. And just otherworldly gorgeousness. So, and I cannot recommend that highly enough. I also had the weird experience of seeing a hotel so um, and um, I am obsessed with the Eyes Walton Hotel, and I had this strong feeling that she explode another time. So now I'm going to. It's really down the Montana and everything I read of Laura Ingalls Wilder books came back to me. If you haven't read her, whether you're a boy or a girl, or you have boys and girls, you really should read or reread her. She was a great, passionate. But um, um, and she described ice. She described I'll never forget.
bro. I didn't even know it was
Hey,
possible.
I'm back. Okay, sweetheart, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
I can. So it looked super jumpy and grainy on X, but maybe X is messing us up and everyone else can
Hold
see
on.
us and hear us. Let's just
Hold
try.
on.
We actually broke down in the
Let
middle
me
of this
fix my
field.
sound. Let me fix my sound.
Okay, baby, you know that you are live. Hi, everyone. We've got 1,600 people. So interesting. We are completely broken down, which is good for the podcast because it means you can, probably hear better. But it was because a piece of ice fell into the engine or messed up something that they need in order to move safely. So the poor conductor is out in this freezing weather in the snow. You can, I hope, see the driving snow behind me. And is fixing the chunk of ice that has detained us here in the middle of the field in Wisconsin. What do you think of
Naomi,
that?
where are you at right now in the country?
Well, we just passed. I know you don't like me to be too specific for security reasons, but I don't think any of these nice people are going to attack me. And I don't think there are any gorillas. You never know. Gorillas
There
really
are no
walk
nice
away.
people.
They're always nice people.
There are no nice people.
And in my view, everyone's nice. Some have gone wrong. But I am past La Crosse, Wisconsin, and on to the next place, which is what?
We just came from La Crosse.
We came from La Crosse.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can look it
Well,
up.
you're a rock star, so do you want me to turn this your way? No, okay, all right. I'm surrounded by musicians and artists. Uh,
You're breaking up.
from La Crosse, Wisconsin.
We're going to the Dells.
We're Dells,
Wisconsin
the Wisconsin Dells.
It's where a bunch of water parks are.
Where a bunch of water parks are. I've never been. That's so exciting. So yeah, in the heartland, baby. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So what
That's
should we
awesome.
talk about? I think we should. If people can hear us and see us, I think we should. I've narrated before you all hopped on my journey so far, so I won't re-narrate. You guys can see that it's pinned on X, except to say that I'm in the middle of our nation's heartland, and I must say the most beautiful section we have of this journey, which is the Empire Builder, has been waking up in Glacier Park, Montana, which is absolutely stunning. I really want to next time I've ever seen it like it. You're smiling, hearing, yeah. So I will tell you if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Great. I was just telling people how beautiful Glacier Park, Montana is, and also I shouldn't say second because I don't want to offend Wisconsinites or Midwesterners, but an equally, if different, form of beauty in the landscape was, I think it's called Red Wing. It's an absolutely stunning kind of rivery, watery. We crossed the Mississippi. I think that was afterwards, but Red Wing. Apparently, eagles are assembled there. There are hundreds of eagles to be seen there. The little inns were called like Eagle View, Eagle Pass. I didn't see any eagles, unfortunately. Maybe they're napping or hibernating. But that was just absolutely stunning. It was like low hills and just so rivery and lakeish, and the rivers and lakes are covered in ice and snow. So it was beautiful. So baby, things are getting a little louder around me. So why don't you talk about your incredibly important research about Luigi Mangione? It's getting so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go over it briefly. We're going to do a show later on, so News Nation called and wants to learn more about it.
Oh, exciting.
But yeah, essentially what I discovered was there's a lot of inconsistencies with the prosecution's case against Luigi Mangione. I'm for the cause of justice. I'm not for the defendant or the plaintiff, never am. But there's just so many problems with the timeline. There's so many problems with how they even came about looking for that particular face that I called that out. And the biggest problem that I found, actually, to be fair, I found it. Josh Boswell from the Daily Mail actually told me about the date disparity, and then we both came to the conclusion, like, oh, wait a minute, this is going on. So what happened is the New York prosecution, Alvin Bragg, as it happens to be, is trying to build a terrorism case against Luigi Mangione, not because they think he's. Yep.
Sorry to jump in, baby. Can you just identify Luigi Mangione for those who've not been following?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So on December 4th at 6:44 a.m., Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare's insurance company, was gunned down in front of the Hilton Midtown at 54th and 6th in New York City in Manhattan, about 300 yards away from the tree lighting ceremony. There was a manhunt that went underway looking for a guy in a hooded jacket and a black mask who left on a e-bike. And then by December 5th, someone from a hostel up at 891 Amsterdam, which is way up Midtown, pretty far, sent in a picture of what appears to be Luigi Mangione, saying, "This is the guy. He looks just like the guy in your video." Luigi Mangione is now in custody after being arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and he's at his extradition hearing as we speak, or just finished it. My problem with that is his own mother couldn't identify him from those original pictures, per her statement to the police. So I'm not sure how a hostel worker who saw him on November 24th when he checked into that hostel looked at a guy in a hood and a mask in a grainy photo from a 45 downward angle and said, "Oh yeah, that's the guy that checked in here." That really kind of right away, it just seemed very like a very pasted together timeline by the police. So,
Brian, what made it seem pasted together to you? What was it about it? And for those who don't know Brian O'Shea, can you do a little bit about your bio? Because sometimes my audience is different from your audience.
Yeah, I'm just a lonely guy in Wisconsin who sits in his mom's basement and solves crimes. No, I was in the military intelligence for 11 years with special forces doing mainly counterterrorism operations. After that, I went into different agencies in the government intelligence area for the next over a decade. And then I overlapped into something called competitive intelligence, which is corporate espionage. And then that at the same time, I overlapped into private investigations simply because I thought it'd be cool to have a private investigator's license. That's why I got the license. But I started actually looking into cases, and then I started getting hired by law firms to do these kind of cases, to do a lot of murder cases for the defense. And so I have a lot of experience doing murder cases, more than most, less than some. But
thank you.
Say that again. Oh, you're frozen. You're frozen. You don't have earbuds, do you? Okay. All right. So she sounds like she's unfreezing. I'll give it 5 more seconds and I will ramble on if you want to hear me. We can't hear you. It looks beautiful, the snow. No, just so you know, I'm talking, Naomi, so I'm not talking over you, but no one can hear you because you're frozen. You might want to hop off and hop back on if you can hear me. So that's how I got into murder investigations. I haven't actually done a murder investigation in quite some time. I stopped being a private investigator around the beginning of the pandemic, but I do always look at cases. So I'm looking into the Bing Liu case from 2020 right now. That was the data scientist who was mysteriously killed right before announcing a molecular structure of the COVID virus. This one, when I saw it, honestly, I was like, wow, that's crazy. I guess it caught my attention, but what caught my attention about this case was the footage they were showing. And it just there were a lot of things that made no sense to me. The shooter's not wearing any gloves, and then he steps right out into the cameras to make his shot instead of just shooting Brian Thompson when he passed by, shooting him from in between the vehicles. There's some other things I said in the Daily Mail article, and I can put it up if you guys are interested. And I'll let Naomi tell you about her trip when she gets back on. I'm just filling time, but if you're interested, I will keep going. You can actually follow more of this on my own show here. I think I have a big streamer for it. But yeah, so that's where I've been putting a lot of this stuff out. Yeah. There we go. So there were, anyways, he steps out into Plainview, and if you know New York City, you know the Midtown Manhattan is probably the most frequented tourist hotel out there. That struck me as odd. And what also struck me as odd was the shooter was not in a hurry. There seemed to be no adrenaline pump. He was pretty proficient in cycling those rounds. For some reason, his rounds weren't cycling. Some people say it's because of the, the suppressor or silencer, whatever you want to call it, not letting the round give enough energy to cycle the upper receiver. Anyways, I noticed the proficiency of that. I don't think it's I didn't think right away that it was either a cop or a intelligence person. And the reason why I thought that, because a lot of people were saying, oh, it's the CIA, oh, it's the FBI, or it's an assassin from the government. I don't think that, because there's one little thing that I noticed, and that was the shooter came down like this and took his shot. In government work, you're taught to come up. You come up from your holster, you come up from the ground. You always hold your gun down. You'd never come out like this. As a matter of fact, when I was training at the range in the government agency I was at, I was just messing around, and I went like that, and they were really, really upset. So you'd never come down like that. You'd come up. So that tells me it's someone else than that at that time. What really caught me, too, was the very next day they get this picture that kind of looks like who we now know as Luigi Mangione, the only suspect in the case, which is odd. And after that, you may have noticed, I should save some of this thunder for my own show, but because I'm going to run out of juice here. But after that, we suddenly realize, they have all these pictures of this guy in a taxi cab. They even reported on ABC that, here he is getting into a taxi cab. That's kind of odd, okay? It's kind of odd because no one was talking about taxi cabs until we had the shooter's face, or what they say is the shooter's face. And suddenly the police kind of shoved the taxi part into the timeline, which also makes no sense because they said he was on a city bike. And then later on, Chief of Detectives Kenny, who's kind of running this whole show for Midtown, said, well, he took his e-bike and then was seen going in and out of the hostel with the battery for the e-bike. Well, you can't do that with a city bike. You can do that with your own bike, but you can't take the battery off a city bike and carry it around. It's not how it works. You check it into the rack, go get a new one when you need one. There's tons of city bikes all over he wouldn't be carrying a battery around if he was riding on a city bike. So that part was utter BS. You can do that if you get a bike from a hotel, or, my hotel in Holland back in May had one. So I was able to take my bike, and I would take my battery, put it in my backpack. The other problem, the biggest blaring problem with their story is this. New York is trying to build a terrorism case. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because in New York, you can't charge someone with first-degree murder unless they have either killed a judge, a first responder, a cop, or are a terrorist, or are deemed a terrorist. So now all of a sudden, what Alvin Bragg, who's prosecutor on this case, or it's his office, now what he has to do to get that first-degree murder charge is turn this kid into a terrorist. Now, look, I don't know if Mangione did it. I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. I am leaning towards the opinion that they have the wrong guy based on my investigations, either on purpose or not. There's many rabbit holes we could go down there. But now they're trying to make him a terrorist to get their first-degree murder charge. Now, you may have seen Tom Dickey, his lawyer in Pennsylvania. Tom Dickey is dealing with the defense of the charges that Luigi Mangione has in Pennsylvania, counterfeiting or producing a gun, whatever they are. There's like 4 counts against him. So that's Tom Dickey. That's that kind of charismatic older lawyer you saw, who's a great lawyer, by the way. He's one of the top 100 defense lawyers in the country. And then he's facing the murder charges here in New York. And I don't have her name in front of me, but his lawyer is also a very good defense lawyer. She's married to the guy who is P. Diddy's defense lawyer. That's no reflection on Luigi Mangione. And even though the media has tried to spin it that way, like, oh, what does this mean? It's just a good lawyer is a good lawyer. It's just Alan Dershowitz is a great example. He represents a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. It doesn't mean they know each other. So, I would just not run down those rabbit holes. But the biggest gap in the prosecution's case, as I see it, is to build terrorism. They have to say that it was well-planned, executed to cause mass terror. Okay, that's not the exact definition, but that's it in a nutshell. Here's the problem. Kenny, in several interviews, and Alvin Bragg at his press conference the other night said that Luigi Mangione arrived in New York City on November 24th, where he then took a taxi, checked into the hostel, took a taxi down to a McDonald's in the Hilton vicinity. There is no McDonald's in the vicinity of the Hilton, unless you consider 6 blocks away being the nearest one, the vicinity. That's pretty far in New York. But anyways, took the taxi down to the vicinity of the Hilton to basically case the kill site out prior to an investors conference for United Healthcare that was scheduled for December 4th. Big problem with that. Luigi Mangione arrives the 24th of November. The investors conference was not announced until November 26th, 2 days after Luigi arrived. Yet the DOJ of NYC is saying on the 24th, Luigi Mangione went down to case out the Hilton. Well, how's that possible? Now some people will say, well, he had someone on the inside. Maybe. Other people will say, well, maybe it was, internal, maybe. Or maybe they got the wrong guy and they're trying to piece together their story. They threw in McDonald's because if you look at Luigi Mangione's social media, he loves McDonald's apparently. So yeah, that's a big gaping hole in the story. The other really weak point of the story is this manifesto. Look, honestly, he may have had it on him when he was arrested in Altoona. I'm not saying the police planted it, but if you read the 262-word manifesto, there are no calls to violence in that manifesto that I can see. There's a lot of ramblings that are kind of this sucks, that sucks, these people are parasites, everything, but I don't see anyone saying, I'm going to go kill somebody. Now, also, if you go to Luigi Mangione's Twitter account, which is at Pep Mangione, Elon Musk put it back up because I guess his staff took it down without his permission, so it's still there. The first day that this kid was arrested, I went through all those tweets. There's 263 tweets total. There's not one mention of United Healthcare. There's not one mention of healthcare. There's not one mention of health. There's not one mention. No, there's mentions of health. The kid liked to work out. There's not one mention of insurance. There's not one mention of Donald Trump. There's not one mention of Biden. There's not one mention of healthcare industry, pharmaceuticals. There's not even a mention of NYC or New York City. There's no mention of the Hilton. There's no mention of CEOs. There's none of that mentioned in his online postings. Now, granted, it's just one account, but still, I've gone through the other accounts. No mentions of these things. So over here, you have the right is saying, oh, he's a lefty, he's going to get what he deserves. Well, that's BS, because even if he is guilty, even if he's a lefty, he deserves due process and a rigorous defense and the presumption of innocence. So any right-wing pundit that is saying that is already convicting this kid. They're wrong, and they're not being good Americans at all. Because when Alvin Bragg went after our Donald Trump, we were all saying, oh my gosh, he's not, they're just presuming he's guilty. They're just throwing the book at him. Yet now when the same dirty prosecutor goes after someone else that we think we don't like, we have a bunch of people saying, yeah, go get him. He's going to get what he, already convicting him. So I wish people would stop doing that and be better Americans. You can't have it both ways. You can't just say justice is for our guy, but not someone else's guy. And to be quite honest, this guy Mangione is so apolitical. I mean, he's so far down the center that, you know, if there was a crease on a piece of paper, he'd be that little dot in the middle of it. But then you have the leftover here saying, oh, he did it because of healthcare and he was disgruntled with healthcare and disgruntled with United. Well, that's been debunked because United Healthcare said this kid was never a customer. Was never a customer. Not only that, his parents were in the healthcare industry. They owned a ton of nursing homes in Maryland. Not a huge empire, but big enough. Big enough where their family, and it's Lorien Health, if you want to look it up, Lorien. But they were kind of in the healthcare industry. They made their money from the healthcare industry. They got subsidies from the government under the banner of healthcare. So, him doing this because he hated healthcare, if he did in fact do it, is kind of makes no sense. But that's also the prosecution's case, is like he was trying to make a statement. This kid also has no history of activism. Best I can tell, he was very interested in different writings of different people, not only Ted Kaczynski, but also Harari, different physicists. He was a very smart guy. Agriculture. He was in Japan at the time writing a lot about agriculture. But I didn't see anything that would indicate any sort of radicalization, anything like that. Now, a lot of people are like, well, he disappeared. Where was he during that time? I don't know. I'm ashamed to say I barely ever call my family. Everyone's busy. If I don't call them for 2 months, no one's going to say that I'm being radicalized somewhere. We don't know their relationship. So there's that. So I think, so as far as motive goes, the prosecution really doesn't have any motive. They have a weapon, a ghost gun that's untraceable. How convenient. They claim to have matched the fingerprints to a water bottle found at the scene. They later changed that to a water bottle found near the scene. And by near the scene, they are saying at the Starbucks on 56th and 6th. That's 3 blocks away in a sense. That's pretty far away. It's also one of the most frequented Starbucks in the country. People ask me, why would he be in NYC? Why was he in NYC? Well, we don't know if he was in NYC. All we've seen are out of context taxi cab photos of his face. We've never seen his face holding a gun. We've never seen his face wearing a gray backpack. We've seen the back of someone wearing a gray backpack. There's that one grainy picture that the police claim was in Starbucks on 56th and 6th, where it's kind of looking down and he's wearing a black jacket with no pockets and that gray backpack, and not he, Mangione, the shooter. And this shooter is also wearing the black face mask. However, I don't think that was in a Starbucks, that picture. Because if you look at that picture, well, there is, if you look at that picture, there's these benches behind him that look more like a train station. And I have some people on the ground in New York City right now. I'll be there next week trying to find out where those seats are. And I'm hoping Naomi gets back on, but if not, I'll just keep going. Okay, so, because it's nice that she set up the studio, so, it's, I don't want to set up my own, but I will have to here pretty soon. Okay. And I'm sorry, she is having trouble getting on. Let me see if I can pull up this video. Here we go. All right. check this out. Okay, now this is ABC News, but this is also from NYPD's Crime Stoppers. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. Okay, so this video is from Time Stoppers. You see it? Now, up in the top left-hand corner, it says December 4th, 2024. And on other media, you could see this is New York City from New York City Tips or Crime Stoppers, whatever they call it. So in the top left-hand corner, you see the time. It says Wednesday, 7/29/49. Okay, but initially the police said that this photo, this image, this video was, as you can see right there, surveillance video exclusively obtained by the Times shows the man suspected of shooting the United Healthcare CEO in the area at least 10 minutes before. By 10 minutes before, they mean 6:44. 10 minutes before 6:44. But that timestamp clearly shows 7:29. Now, some people say, well, it was, it could have been a daylight savings time type thing, or they forgot to change it. No, this is actually, I thought about that. This is a traffic camera. Okay, and these things are all in sync, and they change over automatically. So I just don't think this video was shot at 6:30. I think it was shot at 7:30. I don't know which avenue that is. It could be 6th Avenue. It's wide enough. But that definitely was not at 6:30, in my opinion. Just wasn't. Maybe it was, but it's dark enough. I don't know. Maybe there was a time problem. The point is, no one said that. No one's called that out. I think I'm the only one who's called it out. So just keep that in mind. That says 7:30, plain as the nose on my face. Okay. All right, we go on. It's 7:30. It's 12 minutes after, 14 minutes before the shooting.
In Midtown Manhattan early this morning, 50-year-old Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was shot.
Okay, so let me go past that. You've all seen that. Okay, now, this is like the first day of, first or second day that I recorded this. I also want you to I want you to look at something else too. Okay, and this is, I did the article in Daily Mail about him not working alone. I've done a lot of surveillance. I've done a lot of surveillance all over the country, all over the world, especially as a private investigator. And I can tell you the odds of getting to someone right as they're appearing. So the odds of getting to Brian Thompson as he's walking by the Hilton, not going in, if you notice, he's walking by the Hilton, doesn't have a briefcase or anything, doesn't look like a guy who's going to a conference. He looks like a guy that he's running. It looks like a guy who's going to maybe have a cup of coffee with someone or something else. I don't see anything on him that looks like he'd be, maybe that's how he rolls. I don't know. Okay. But let me just get there. Now you'll notice here, that's what I wanted to point out. You see that SUV up there? Right before Brian Thompson steps into camera view, those lights were pressed. Those brake lights were depressed. Okay, so and they stay pressed through the entire shooting until the shooting's done. At that point, the SUV driver takes his foot off the brakes, and then right at the end puts on his blinker like he's going to leave. He hasn't picked up a passenger. And he also, the shooter crosses right in front of that SUV. We still haven't seen that dash camera. Okay.
In Midtown.
So you get the idea. Also, they still see this woman here on the right-hand side. They don't show it here, but she runs away. She sees the whole thing. She runs away. I haven't seen her unless she's in protective custody. But I did notice when she ran away, she never dropped her coffee, which, hey, people react different ways, just pointing it out. Okay. But let me see if I could get the other video up that shows and look, any New Yorkers or anyone that goes to Starbucks, you're going to see what I mean here. Let me see. Earlier footage. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I'm glad I labeled these things as well. Okay, so this is New York Post timeline. I'll just kind of let that run. This was from the 6th of December. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. All right. See those benches behind him? 617, according to, you see it at the top, and if you know the way the news works, they get their leads from the police. If ABC, New York Post, if they obtain footage of a crime like this, especially, and they don't alert the police to it, they could be charged with interfering with an ongoing investigation. That's very real. So they are coordinated with the police on cases like this. Okay, you see they got the Crime Stoppers branding. That's an NYPD thing. But look behind the shooter. And I don't doubt that this guy, whoever this guy is the shooter. But look behind the shooter, okay? Look at those benches. They got the little shared tables. I've only seen those in train stations or bus stations. I've never seen those in a Starbucks. And as a matter of fact, if you go to that Starbucks, even go to Google Maps, and I was just at that Starbucks maybe a month ago. They don't have seating like that. Have you ever seen a Starbucks that has rows of benches with shared tables so you could face the counter? It's just not how they're configured. If anyone can find out where these benches are, that'd be great, because then we'll know where this person was. Might not know what time he was there, because as you can see, they cropped out the time. But this is all we have right now. I also want to point out that there's a shine to this jacket. That indicates to me that it's probably a Gore-Tex-like material. Also, this person here, this is the only partial of this person's face prior to getting those full face shots that appear to be Mangione. But remember, at this point here, the mother said she wouldn't have been able to identify her son, yet some hostel worker who saw him on the 24th of November could look at this photo here and say, oh yeah, he was here on the 24th checking in. He flirted with me. Now, if you go to New York, especially since the start of COVID, but even typically, like in the wintertime, it's cold. Everyone is wearing like hooded jackets and scarves or masks. Everyone's wearing those. That doesn't even look like a mask. That looks more like a gaiter to me, the thing you put on your neck and you pull up. Everyone has those. Like everyone has those. And if you don't believe me, you could just Google New York, like Rockefeller Center tree lighting 2024, and people have taped like 7 hours of walking around that area, which is 300 yards from this area, and you'll see so many people that look like this. So the odds of this person recognizing Mangione from this photo, I'm just not buying it. That's some superhuman stuff right there. Maybe this person at the hostel's psychic. I don't know. Maybe the person at the hostel didn't like Mangione. Maybe she flirted with him, or he flirted with him. He didn't reciprocate. Who knows? But I just don't see. I mean, could you recognize a person you've seen once from this photo in New York City at the busiest time of the year? You're better than me if you can. Okay, so check out those benches, snapshot it, whatever you need to do. But I'm telling you, that is not at that Starbucks. And actually, you know what? Let me just call up the Starbucks. And guys, I'm going to have to hop off soon because I don't think Naomi's coming back, and I do need to get ready for a 3 o'clock. But let me just show you this really quick because I'm obsessed with every case at work. And so this is the mode I go into. This is kind of like how Naomi acts when she's writing a book here at home. I don't even talk to her. I just go somewhere else. My son loves it because then he has my undivided attention. So let me pull up that Starbucks. Okay. Here we go. It came right up. Excellent. All right. Okay. Let me just share my screen with you. So remember, look at those benches before I change the screen. Okay, now we're going to go to Google Maps. Okay. So here you go. You have, as you can see here, 56th Street, 6th Avenue. Just give it perspective. This is the Hilton. Okay. killer came down here, walked on this side of the street, supposedly crossed the street and shot Brian Thompson right there on the street in front of the entrance to the Hilton on December 4th. Sorry. Okay, now let's go. This is Starbucks, I said, right? You see it says 56 and 6. Okay, this is the one. So if you look at the photos of the Starbucks, here they are. Here's the inside. Let's run that, see what that is. You also notice it's a totally different floor. Okay. Totally. Oh, no, that's the same floor, actually. Okay. So anyways, here, and like I said, it could be the same Starbucks, but those benches, but it could be the same now that I'm looking at the floor. I could be wrong on that one. That's okay. I'm not too proud to say if I'm wrong, but I'm just not seeing those benches in that Starbucks. And maybe they are there. I will know more today. I am sending a younger O'Shea to this area to look into that for me. I am trying to figure out why the floor is different in some pictures, and so that's October 24. Anyways, you get the point. Like, I just don't know like where those benches are in this Starbucks. I'm going to keep looking here. Yeah, I don't see them. Maybe they're there, and maybe I'm not getting every angle. I'm just not seeing them at all. I mean, you guys ever, on a side note, you ever notice the food looks so good on these pictures and it just never looks that great? That could be one there. Okay, this could be them, possibly, which is good. Then at least we nail that down. I'd rather eliminate leads than get them, and I've been wrong before, so I could be wrong on this. Who knows? That could be one of the benches. I'm not too proud to admit it. But it'll be better when I have a person going in. They're just going to take their camera and give us a whole panorama of that Starbucks. Okay. You'll also notice outside the Starbucks there's City Bike Rack. Okay, so there's that one. So we got the 24th is when, according to the DA, that Mangione planned this thing. Yet then on the 26th is the first time they announce the conference. So that's odd. You have the guy in this black Gore-Tex. Okay, that looks like black Gore-Tex. And if you, just remove that. But basically, he's in that black hoodie. But when they show us the pictures of Mangione, he's in a cream-colored or green type kind of fabric jacket that it looks totally different. Has breast pockets. This guy didn't have breast pockets, supposedly on that. Yeah, and then they also said that the taxi cab photos were on the same day. So I don't know. Okay, I don't know. There just seems to be a lot of holes in it. I don't see a very good case here for the prosecution. But again, they don't always have great cases. And I'll end it on this. There's a case called Clarence Terry that I was investigating in 2017 in Alexandria, Virginia. In a nutshell, Pamela Calloway, last seen with a victim named Shaquille. Shaquille ends up getting stabbed in the heart. And the last person seen with him is this woman, Pamela Calloway, the estranged wife. Pamela Calloway Terry, the estranged wife of Clarence Terry. So it's Pamela Calloway Terry and then Clarence Terry. Clarence was going to get his clothes that morning of the murder at Pamela's house. She'd kicked him out, locked the doors, changed locks. She wouldn't give him his clothes. He's so mad, he turns around, he hits his head on the Penske truck that he drives and gets a gash on his head. Bleeds all over his T-shirt. Later that night, Pamela is walking with Shaquille. They're going to the 7-Eleven. Then Shaquille ends up dead, stabbed right through the heart, which looks like it could have been a serrated type kitchen style blade. Police arrive on the scene. Pamela's walking up to the scene, even though she was walking with him when he got stabbed, supposedly, and as soon as police question Pamela, she says, "It was my ex-husband, Clarence. Clarence did this." So the police go on the manhunt looking for Clarence. Now, Clarence, he's up at the bus stop, maybe 300 yards away with his bloody T-shirt. He's got to get to bed. He's got to go down to North Carolina the next day, move some stuff. So the crazy part is the police never looked for a murder weapon. They never even opened the dumpsters near the 7-Eleven, including a Goodwill dumpster that was locked. And Pamela worked at a Goodwill. So, and it gets worse. So they go on a manhunt because Pamela, who should be the prime suspect, she's the last person seen with this guy who got stabbed in the heart with no defensive wounds. They not only take her word for it and send off this big manhunt to go after Clarence, they let her hold the flashlight at the crime scene. I kid you not. They let her hold the flashlight while they process the crime scene. Then, according to the various affidavits, they actually found bloody clothing and stains on the wall at Pamela's house, and her son was just finishing a shower when the police went there to question them. They also never ran Pamela's jacket for DNA. Now, they catch up with Clarence the next day. He's in North Carolina. He's moving some furniture with his Penske crew. That's what he did for a living. And they take him into custody immediately. He gets dragged back up to the Commonwealth of Virginia. They run his T-shirt for DNA because they see the blood. And there's no Shaquille DNA on it. Only Clarence's DNA because it's his blood. Now, if you stab someone in the heart, that thing is spraying everywhere. Everywhere. No DNA on Clarence whatsoever, and he was still in the same clothes as evidenced by the bloody T-shirt. So there's that. Then Pamela went before a grand jury and said she was not carrying a knife on the night of the murder. Why would they ask Pamela that? Oh, I don't know. Because she had prior convictions for stabbing people, including Clarence, whom she stabbed in the face. Probably why they're estranged. And I learned all this investigating. When you get on a case and you actually get to see the case files, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of affidavits. Every cop you see on these scenes, every person you see, they're taking statements from everyone, every patrol person that's there doing traffic control. They all have to submit affidavits, which is a real pain because you have to read all of those things. It's also a trick that some, I won't say police forces, but DOJs will pull in cases like this. They know it's going to gum up the defense if they have a lot of stuff to get through. So they'll invite everyone down to the crime scene. So you've got to read even more affidavits. Okay. So anyways, this thing goes, I get hired. I'm reading through all this. No one ever opened up the dumpsters. No one ever questioned the fact that like Pamela was the last person there. She lied to a grand jury about carrying a knife that night. So what I did is with the defense's permission, I gave her a call. And I said, this is Brian O'Shea, and I'm working for the defense. I'm the investigator. And she's like, I don't have to talk to you. I said, you are absolutely correct. You do not have to talk to me. And I said, but you might want to hear what I have to say. And she's like, what's that? And I said, we have a potential murder weapon. And she's like, what? And I said, we have a potential murder weapon. And then I went on to say, I went into the Goodwill dumpster, and I believe you work at Goodwill, correct? And she said, yeah. And I said, and then I repeated, I said, we have a potential murder weapon. And I believe you said to the grand jury, you were not carrying a weapon the night of Shaquille's murder. She hangs up on me. So then I get a call from my defense lawyer. He's like, would you say to her? I said, I just told her we have a potential murder weapon. He said, well, that's not true. And I said, yes, it is. I have a knife over there. I have a gun over there. They're all potential murder weapons. I didn't say we had the potential murder weapon. I said we have a potential murder weapon. So she went to the grand jury and changed her testimony and said, yeah, as it turns out, I was carrying a knife the night of the murder. So, but even with all of that, with all of this evidence, like this is clearly the police got the wrong guy. With all of that said, this guy still sat in lockup for a year. And if you've ever seen like some of these lockups, especially at the courthouses, they look like animal cages. It's bad. Okay, it's not good. And it's really sad too, because this particular guy, Clarence, we take it for granted our ability to communicate things clearly. This guy could not communicate clearly. I don't know if it was a mental thing or, I don't want to say it's educational, but he really had trouble conveying a clear message, much in the way I do if I podcast like late at night or something. And I felt bad because I was like, how can anyone like this defend themselves? Like he couldn't articulate a timeline to me. And I was patient and we got it out of him. And the luckiest day of this guy's life was when Michael Hadid, the defense lawyer, happened to be in the courtroom that day. And the judge said, hey, Michael, you're going to take this case, because the judge can do that. They've signed it to any lawyer they want, because the public defender was really stacked with cases. Talk about a lucky day for Clarence, because had he not got the lawyer he got, who then hired me and we had a great team, he'd probably be in jail for this murder. Okay. And so what's my point here? My point here is when there's a case like this, it's been my experience many times. I'm not saying it's this time. I'm not saying it's every time. And it's certainly not the fault of the police. Okay. They're kind of the foot soldiers. Decisions like this are made at the attorney, at the DA level, at the Commonwealth's attorney level. Commonwealth's attorney is DA in a Commonwealth. And they decide to double down on a case. Why? Because they've invested so many public resources in it. They've invested so much time in it. They're going to look really bad if they got the wrong guy. That's literally like getting sacked or fumbling in football. Like, it's really bad. But they should, because that'd be real justice. Got the wrong guy, got the wrong guy. I've always said it'd be better for them, hey, just own up to it and move on and go find the real killer. I'm not saying this is the wrong guy. I'm not saying it's not. I feel like this is the wrong guy. That's just based on my research. I could be wrong. I might be proved to be wrong. But I feel with this case, there is a lot of pressure on Alvin Bragg to get this one right, and to make it dramatic, because he, has egg on his face from his 34 indictments against Donald Trump, which were actually not even crimes. He lost the Daniel Penny case, and now he's got this case. Can you imagine how bad that would be if Alvin Bragg got the wrong guy? Just saying. So, yeah, and there is that. Also, back to the terrorism charge, if this guy was planning terrorism, or they thought this was an act of terrorism, which is what the indictment kind of implies, why didn't they shut down that whole area? Why did they still have the tree lighting if they were concerned he's a terrorist, which was 300 yards away? Why didn't they shut down Central Park? I mean, if there's a terrorist on the loose, right? Terrorist, one might think they might want to do these things. So anyways, that's all I got for you. I don't think Naomi's coming back. I'm sure she's fine. She's texting me. She's just having trouble with the signals, so she is on a train. I will, hopefully she gets back on and I'll help her technically. I probably won't hop back on again. But if you do want to follow this case the way I'm following it, just go to Investigate Everything over at Rumble. It's on the same channel as Good Daily Clout's Rumble. You can find that. My show there. Also, because I'm here, don't forget to go to the Wellness Company, one of our sponsors. Use Daily Clout, get 10% off. Also go to Get Native Path. Okay. Use promo code Daily Clout and get a big whopping 45% off. And then our latest campaign, that's why I'm able to do this stuff all night, Native Hydrate. I love this stuff. It's awesome. They sent us a case of it. It's like Gatorade on steroids. It has all your amino acids. It tastes delicious. I love it. This is Native Hydrate. No carbs, which I love. And they also have a variety pack. So you go to nativehydrate.com/daily clout. Buy this stuff. Tell us what you think of it. You're going to love it. This has these little like single servings. I keep these with me all the time. And then also, while we're here, I'm just looking at her list of our sponsors here. And these are good sponsors. Actually, these ones I like a lot. This is, if you see it scrolling along the bottom there, Birch Gold. Now, text Daily Clout to 989898. I love Birch Gold. I think they're awesome. Philip Patrick, he's the man. Honestly, if you love geopolitics, you love history, and you love making money, put your money in gold, seriously. And Birch Gold's great because not only do you get a safe place to park your money, but gold's a good investment. Never kind of always used to be one of those boring investments, but like, damn, since last November, gold has gone up $1,000 an ounce. It's gone from roughly $1,700 to $2,700 per ounce. That's a huge gain for any stock, right? But gold has a tendency to keep going up. They go slower, they go higher. They slowed down when Donald Trump won the election, but that's just because it makes the dollar seem stronger. That's typical. That's actually a great time to buy. But China continues to hoard gold and buy up gold. It's not a bad time to get your money out of whatever mutual fund you have. I did once I heard about these guys from Daily Clout, and I talked to them, and they send you this great info packet. If you text Daily Clout to 989898, you get this really great info packet. And what I like is these guys don't spam you. But man, their newsletter, if you want to know what's going on in the world, because everything at this level is connected, get that info kit. So again, text Daily Clout to 989898. You'll be glad you did. Might as well. We're going to have some choppy oceans here geopolitically in the next 4 years, probably the next 8 years. Who knows? But if you look at any gold chart, it goes up forever. And there are other gold companies out there. I've researched them all. This is one of the top gold companies out there. So you can actually get your physical gold too if you request it. I don't know how that works, but I know they have a contract with Brinks, the armored car, and they'll bring your gold to your house. I'm sure the shipping costs are going to be a bit substantial, but you can actually get your gold. But check it out. And at a minimum, just text Daily Clout to 989898 and tell us what you think. But yeah, and check out Naomi's interviewed Philip Patrick quite a bit. I have. He's great. You guys really learn a lot from this guy. Okay, and I'm not going to advertise my own sponsors on here, but if you want to follow what I'm doing, go to Investigate Everything on Daily Clout. That's lots of other good shows there. Check them all out. And I think that will be it. So, look, everyone have a great day. Keep us updated about the drones. If anyone goes by that Starbucks, take a picture. If the benches are there, then I stand corrected. I think they might actually be there now that I'm looking again. I stand corrected. Boom, we could cross that off our list. I do go over in my show how I do investigations, my steps, my procedure. I am trained to do this, both in intelligence analysis, where I was trained in military intelligence. There is a process. I was trained by these agencies I worked at. There is a process for dealing with so much information, so you can narrow down to actionable intelligence. And that's really what I do. And I've carried that on doing this work for Naomi and Daily Clout. So I do take you through those steps on a lot of my shows. So it's fun. It's very interactive. It's very loose. I've got a great audience. I call them my detective circle. But they're bringing great leads, and people can send me leads. Everything like that's a lot of fun. And this is kind of like what me and Naomi were doing since the start of the pandemic. It was just like, boom, like just breaking this stuff down. So, yeah, and she'll be back. And I think she's out of the train, I think tomorrow. So I'm not sure exactly when. Yes, we have a great marriage, but we're always in motion. So it's a lot of it. Our scheduling is always off. But if I don't see this audience before Christmas, have a wonderful Christmas. Have a happy Hanukkah too, because they're on the same day this year. They start on the same day. Have a great new year. But thank you for supporting us and continue to do so. And I look forward to meeting all of you, hopefully on my show. But if not, I will come back here and visit Naomi from time to time. And thanks for listening, and thanks for your patience with the connection. Okay, so have a great day. This is Brian O'Shea signing off for Naomi Wolf's Outspoken. And safe travels and happy holidays.